Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai. And we'll just do these, the Guru prayers together. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunath Danvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So, all right. We are at a junction point. But Krishna is just telling, we're in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We're going to do 637. And it's going to talk about, Krishna was telling Arjuna to be a yogi at this point. You guys know what a yogi is? Someone tell me what a yogi is. It's part of your culture, many of you. What's a yogi? What's yoga? What's it mean? What's that, Meghna? To link, to connect with the divine. Yes, to connect with the divine. That's exactly what yoga means. Especially through different processes of yoga, like karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. It's to link with the divine, to link with the absolute truth. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, and he mentions this later, of all sciences, he's the science of yoga. It's a science, actually. Most people think yoga is like, you guys go to college back there, right? Hey, you go to college?
Yep.
What are you studying?
Masters.
What's that?
Masters.
Okay, you're studying your master's, but what subject matter?
Engineering management.
Engineering management. Is there a science?
Not so much.
Not so much. Management's more as managing the people who are actually doing the science. But actually there's a science to managing. I actually know that because that's my main job in life. I have to manage so many things and students and arrangements to run the bhakti yoga, organizing programs and so many things like that. Managing this finance, that thing, the other thing. Or engaging someone else in doing it. But there's a science in how to do anything. So yoga is actually said to be, of all sciences, Krishna says this is the supreme science. So yoga is linking the consciousness with the supreme. This is yoga. So this many sit in meditation, and this is the endeavor to link the consciousness with the supreme. Do we do this a lot? Who is sitting in meditation? No. We're not. And even if you are, even when kirtan, this is actually said to be the topmost method in linking one's. That's what we should be doing in kirtan. Not sitting there meditating silently, but actually linking our consciousness with the supreme through our senses, through the calling of the holy name. We do this all the time, you know. Like if I want to link up with Tanmay, I say, hey Tanmay. And then Tanmay may answer me, or he may be too contemplative to notice or answer. But yeah, that's or if I say, hey Mukunda, you know, that's calling the name. Oh, okay, let's link up. You dial your friend's contact. You find, where's Janae's contact in my phone? Hey Janae, you know, like that. You call the name. So actually, this is actually said to be the best process that we just did. So anyhow, Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita the science of yoga. He's telling Arjuna to be a yogi. You know, even in the midst of a battlefield, do you normally link the two together? Great warrior shooting arrows, ready to kill, and yogis, you usually don't link together. But actually, Krishna is teaching him how to be a yogi even in the midst of a warrior, and he can teach you how to be a yogi in the midst of being a student, or being a yogi even in the midst of being a worksman, and so on. Krishna wants to teach all of us to be a yogi. This is our yogi who works at Tesla, Rishi here. And then we have a yogi back there, Janesh, who is working as a doctor. And a yogi right there who's working in the social work field. I'm sorry I don't know more clearly what you do. I know what field you're in. Yeah, right? Am I even off? Am I off?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, good enough. So, we can all be a yogi in all different walks of life, doing many things. So, Krishna tells Arjuna to be a yogi, and he explains the yoga process, how to link one's consciousness with the Supreme. But ultimately, Arjuna, he's like, heck no. You know, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. Obstinate means stubborn. He wants to do this, that, and the other thing. Anything other than focus on the Supreme. Oh, Krishna, and to subdue it, it seems to me more difficult than controlling the wind. Arjuna could actually control the wind a bit. He had the sciences of mantra, being able to control the elements via his weaponry. We do this too, you know, when we have fire weapons, where we can control, you know, fire like flamethrowers, missiles, all kinds of things. There's all kinds of different weaponry out there. But Arjuna actually had this ability via mantra. But he said, I can control the wind, there's no way I can control my mind. So and if Arjuna can't control his mind, guess what? We're way more degraded than Arjuna is. Sohan. Hare Krishna. Very happy to see you. So anyhow, Krishna says, undoubtedly it's very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it's possible with two things. Does anyone know? He says, constant of these two things. This is a very important part of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes. Now, someone tell me the English translation of what Tanmay just said. Practice and renunciation or detachment. By constant practice and by constant detaching from material things, you can actually practice yoga. So first, it's a practice. You know, the mind will want to go here. The mind will make you fall down. The mind will make you slip up. This, that, and the other thing. But you have to practice. No. This cannot be what I do every day. That's why when we're here, we have many different sadhanas. Sadhana is in relation to the word sadhya. What is a sadhya? A goal. And what's a sadhana? Mukunda. A practice to do what? To get your goal, to achieve your goal. So sadhana is the practice that you do to achieve your goal. So if your goal is to link up with the Supreme, and then we do this through bhakti, Krishna eventually he teaches that bhakti is the best way to do that. Think of me, the Supreme Person, as your best friend or as whatever relationship you have, and I'll deliver you. So actually when we're chanting, that's actually what we're trying to do. We're trying to link up with that Supreme Person, that Supreme destination of the yoga practice. We're not just trying to become blissed out meditators, actually. We're actually trying to, that's the secret he reveals to Arjuna. But at first he tells him the science of yoga. Now, but it takes constant practice and detachment. So we're trying to teach different practices. Constant practice. It means regular. You have to be regular. Even we sent one of the boys, Rishi was living here for some time. And then we sent him off because he had to get a job. His visa situation is running out. This will happen with all of you. It'll happen to Tanmay and Piyush too. They can't stay. Only Michael can stay, I think. But everyone else, you have different destiny or dharma. You know. So anyhow, you're going to have to learn practices in how to detach from these worldly things. This is the supreme science he's teaching. Now, what's this have to do with lust? We're here today because our friend Holly has left her body. What's this have to do? Well, Krishna, he continues, I'll tell you. He says, for one whose mind is unbridled. Bridle is like a term for controlling a horse. For one whose mind is unbridled or uncontrolled, self-realization is difficult work. You know, meaning if the senses see something, the mind just goes. You know, like you think like a dog in the street. If you know, we're a bunch of men in the room, making an aside, bunch of men, right? If we see a pretty lady, if we're uncontrolled, we'll run right up to her with our tongue hanging out, like, hey pretty, like how are you? And then she'll be like, oh my God, get away from me. But if we have some more control, we'll be like, okay, I cannot do like that. But a dog, completely uncontrolled, he will run right up and then see if he can execute whatever goal he has with her right then and there, which is, you know, animals can do things like that, and you know, but humans, we're a bit more sophisticated. Hopefully, there's a lot of humans who are far less sophisticated than others. But anyhow, be more sophisticated. That's good. It's a good thing. Everyone will thank you, especially the ladies. But anyhow, he whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means is assured of success. So one, you have to control the mind, and then you have to do it by the right process. Then you'll get success. Guaranteed success in yoga, which is the topmost science. If I told you, you know, of all the secret sciences in all the world, I can make you an expert in the topmost science. Wouldn't that be attractive? Yes, everyone should be very attractive. Well, that's exactly what I'm telling you right now. Of the topmost science in the world, you can become a master of it, at this. And Krishna is giving you the formula. And we have teachers who have come down in the lineage of Krishna giving the formula. One of the formulas is what we did, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. But there's more, you know, developing a practice to regularly do this, like maybe picking up some japa beads and working with the holy name of the Lord and every so often. Every day, actually. Constant practice. It's a constant practice. You know, maybe yes, I don't want to do japa. I'd rather just do millions of other things. But there's regular practices we do. Hearing of the Bhagavatam regularly. Hearing of Krishna's messages regularly. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. At least a couple times a week. That's why we're here. One of the things we're doing. You know, attending arati or performing puja or arati. These things are all very important bhakti sadhanas. So that you get your goal. You get to actually have the relationship with the Supreme. So that's actually what this is about. So now, Arjuna says, well, what's the destination of the man of faith who does not persevere, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Maybe does that sound like that could be us? All right, well, I can do something, but there's no way I'm going to get it in this life. Does that sound relevant? Yes, it's very relevant. Everyone should listen up very carefully. And this has everything to do with Holly. Because Holly, we just lost our dear friend Holly. And Holly began many practices with us. She even, for the month of Kartik, she observed the Kartik Vrat. She was coming here almost every day offering the lamps to the Lord. And what a glorious destination awaits to one who takes up some of these practices like she did. But, you know, if you were to ask Holly, and I always did kind of ask Holly, she would tell me, well, there's just some things not going to happen. I don't need to do all that, you know. No problem. Not everyone has to. And this is what Krishna is going to tell us is what happens if we don't fully take to it, and it's not a constant practice and detachment game. So he's going to tell us. So this is what awaits. This may be what's awaiting Holly's destination, or because she did do a significant amount of practice, we may also see, it's not up to us, it's between her and Krishna, she may have achieved a supreme perfection, or at least a portion of perfection, and now she can start wherever she's going from the next phase and keep moving. That's what reincarnates you, by the way. I don't know if you knew this. Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita. What reincarnates you isn't necessarily your karma, isn't necessarily how much jnana you received in one life. What reincarnates you into your next destination is you leave off exactly where you left off spiritually. Now, if you came into this life like I did, with very little spiritual knowledge, then yes, you continue where you are, very little. But actually, yes, karma will dictate, okay, you get this type of body, this type of situation, these type of reactions, these type of parents, but it actually doesn't matter. None of those things matter spiritually. Spiritually is actually what's going to leave you off in the next. Like, for instance, Bharat Maharaj. You've heard of Bharat Maharaj? Your country is named after him. You know? He was the king, the emperor of what was known as Bharat. Bharat was the whole world at one point. Now it's shrunken down, and then the Westerners named it something else, and now you guys are India and Indians. But it was Bharat Varsha, correct? Even I think now the movement is in your country to rename it Bharat. Is that the case? There is a movement? Janae is saying no, and Rishi is saying yes. It doesn't matter. These are political trifles. But anyhow, do you know what happened with Bharat Maharaj? He, at the end of his life, he achieved a certain level of perfection. And he gave up his beautiful wife. He was the king of the world. He gave up his beautiful kingdom. He gave up everything. Do you know what the example given in the Bhagavatam is? You know it, Mukunda? He gave up all these things like one gives up stool. Did you ever, when you have to go to the bathroom, and you really want to give that up? That's how he gave up. That's how he gave up his kingdom, his wife, his children, all his opulence. He was the ruler of the world, and he gave it all up like stool. But still, at the end of life, he was chanting mantras, Om, connecting to the Supreme. He had so much practice, but something happened. He was meditating by a sacred river, and all of a sudden, a mother deer runs by, and as she's running by, a lion roars, and the deer, she gets so scared that she jumps across the river, and she gives birth in the river right at that time. She gave birth right then and there. So then, Bharat Maharaj, she sees this beautiful little deer, but the mother is so scared of the lion that she just has to keep going. She wants nothing to do with her child. So Bharat Maharaj says, this poor helpless deer, what shall I do? Oh no. So he takes the deer in and he washes it up and he feeds it, and then the deer becomes very friendly to it. And what happens, he actually gets attached to the deer. And so, long story short, over some time, the deer disappeared because it's an animal, and he was lamenting, no, where's my deer? He forgot all of his practices. He was practicing so much constant practice being a yogi, but he just got so attached to the deer, he lost all of his practices. And that can happen to us. We can get so many practices, we can get right up on the up and up, and then all of a sudden a pretty girl comes by and there goes all our practices. Or all of a sudden there comes, for the ladies, a pretty boy, and next thing you know, there goes all our practices. And this thing, that thing, the other thing. Maybe a job comes, maybe some money comes, this, that, and the other, and then all your practice is gone. So what happened to Bharat? Richa, Hare Krishna. So does anyone know what happened to Bharat? Yeah, he got reincarnated as a deer. That sucks. Normally it sucks. But because he reached a certain level of perfection and he had made advancement in yoga, he actually got to keep his consciousness. And know what he did? As a deer, even though, yes, his karma was you were attracted to a deer at death, that's what the consciousness went to, boom, you're a deer. He actually got to keep his spiritual consciousness as a deer, and he resided next to the sages' ashrams. And he lived his whole life there, hoping to one day not mess up again and to continue his practice of yoga. And he did whatever he could as a deer, but the deer body isn't great for doing yoga. Is that door shut? Yes, that should be shut. So he continued on just like that. And then eventually he gave up his deer body, and then in the Bhagavatam he became known as Jadabhara. You've heard of the story of Jadabhara or Jadabhara? You heard this story? This is a pastime in the Bhagavatam. And what he did actually is he realized, actually you got to be careful who you discard. But Jadabhara, he realized, I'm not going to have any family attachment this life. He got born in a Brahmin's family, very pious, very good. But he's like, I'm going to completely focus on the Supreme and become only focus on yoga. I'm not going to get any mixed up with any family members. I'm not going to get mixed up with any jobs. And you know what he did? He pretended to be what we would call like a special needs person in modern society. He pretended to be incapable of doing any duties that his father or family or anyone requested him. Everyone thought he was deaf, dumb, blind, mute. But really, he was a great transcendentalist. And so then there's a whole pastime of how he lived his life in this transcendental state, and he achieved perfection in that life when he got the human body again. So this is actually what will happen. You will continue off spiritually. Yes, you might get some karma, you did something, but no, whatever your spiritual advancement you've made, that's where you'll continue off. And Krishna mentions this in Bhagavad Gita, if you study. There's one verse in particular I really wish was coming to my mind, but he mentions exactly that you'll continue on as you've made advancement. So remind me, I'm going to have to research and find it before the end. Maybe Rishi, you can do a little research. What verse is that? Or part you might know too. So anyhow, what happens to the person who desists due to worldly mindedness and does not attain perfection in mysticism? Like Bharat, he got caught up with a deer, a little baby deer, and it was so cute, and then he became so fixed on it and he lost his perfection in mysticism. Like maybe some of you guys, you reached a certain level of practice. Some of the guys in the ashram. Like Rishi was just telling me the other day, we had a conversation, and he said, I miss you guys, and he came here today, we're so happy that he came. He got some time off, holiday, and he came. But, he got back into the working world, and, naturally in the working world, it's not as easy to maintain all your practices. It's not as easy as when you're like living in an ashram, and that's the whole focus. So anyway, most of you guys aren't going to come live here. And you're in the thicket of, all kinds of duties. So it's your job to try and cultivate some practices. But how dedicated are you to doing it? And what happens if you don't reach it? Sometimes it seems insurmountable. There's no way I'm going to do this. It's impossible. So this is what Krishna is saying. He says, Arjuna says, O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man, being deviated from the path of transcendence, perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? You ever see like a little cloud that goes off on its own and it just dissipates? This is what Arjuna is comparing it. Well, if I don't fully commit to being a mystic or a perfected yogi, but at the same time I don't commit to being a complete materialist and trying to master materialism, what's going to happen to me? I'm just going to get caught in the middle and I'll just dissipate and nothing. I'll get nothing. So Krishna will tell you. He says, this is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for yourself, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. And then Krishna says, repeat after me, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Parthanaiveha Namutra Vinashas Tasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kashchid Durgatim Tata Gachati. Okay, he says, the Blessed Lord said, Son of Pritha, transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So a transcendentalist who's engaged in proper activities, auspicious activities, does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. So if you do a lot of good but you don't meet the final perfection, you can't fully commit to being a yogi, but you can do something, you won't meet destruction. You'll never glide down to being a completely evil materialist. I think Rishi was using the word terrorist the other day. You'll never glide down to being in such a position. One who does good is never overcome by evil. You'll keep getting urged to do good, but just keep going so that you keep making more and more advancement. So Krishna, he says, Prapya punya kritam lokan Ushitva shashvati samaha Shuchinam shrimatam gehe Yoga brashto vijayate. Prapya, after achieving. Punya kritam, of those who perform pious activities. Lokan, planets. Ushitva, after dwelling. Shashvati, many. Samaha, years. Shuchinam, of the pious. Shrimatam, of the prosperous. Gehe, in the house of. Yoga brashta, one who has fallen from the path of self-realization. Abhijayate, takes his birth. That's what yoga brashta, you fall from the path of yoga. So maybe you guys have come in contact with yoga before. You wouldn't find it again in this life if you didn't come in contact to it. But chances are actually you fell away from it. That's why you're here, and that's why it keeps coming up again. Oh, that place down the street is inviting me to yoga. Maybe you're just hungry, you want to catch a free meal. No problem. But still, if yoga keeps coming into your experience, that's fine. But what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep falling from the path of yoga over and over and over again? Birth, death, disease, old age, recycle, and keep going? You all accept reincarnation, right? You all know this. You know that this is something to be transcended? That's a goal, right? What are you laughing at, Tanma?
No.
Yes. Yes, of course. But we don't think about these things. I'm going to try and defeat samsara today. Who's thinking like that? No, it's like, I want to go do this, I want that thing, I want to enjoy like this. This is what the consciousness does. But ultimately, he says, the unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of rich aristocracy. So if you're a yogi and you're unsuccessful and you fall down due to worldly mindedness, Krishna gives you great facility to fulfill all your desires. But then eventually, just like if you got a bunch of money, like do you know what happens to someone who wins the lottery? It almost happens every time someone wins the lottery. They go broke. Because they get all this money and they get all this facility for enjoyment, and then they spend and spend and spend and spend and spend and spend, and next thing you know, they used up all their pious credits and then they're out again. So that's what will happen to you. You'll get all these types of facility for enjoyment, like this and like that, and upside down and left and right, and this way, that way. You get all kinds of heavenly enjoyments, and then eventually you'll run out of all those credits, and then you'll go into, but because you made some spiritual advancement in the past, you'll go into a family of righteous people or dharmic people, or into a family of rich aristocracy, where you don't have to work so hard just to survive. That's the guarantee of the yogi. So Prabhupada says the unsuccessful yogis, this is Krishna saying, I'm not saying. And now Prabhupada, who's the representative of Krishna, you could say the chief of bringing the Krishna consciousness movement across the world, so that people like myself and Michael and Mukunda and the Western world, and you guys, as the Indians in the Western world, probably not thinking that you're going to find American people teaching you about your ancient culture. I mean, you guys know it way better than we do, actually. But you may have just got attracted to the American dream. It's a dream, trust me. It's a dream. But, it looks good here. No, I'm going to be happy. Maybe your family members have been telling you like this. It's a dream. This whole material world and the illusion of happiness in the material world is but a dream. If you really want happiness, the supreme science for happiness is yoga. This is what Krishna is recommending. He wants you to be a yogi too, not just Arjuna. But who will take? Who will actually want to control the senses and the mind? No, I don't like that. Of course you don't like. It's like a child. The child doesn't want to play. It doesn't want to stop playing. But it's good that the child stops playing and gets an education, learns to read and write, do all these things. Imagine your parents didn't force you into doing some of these things. So it's kind of our job. We're like kind of the community parents, even though I'm like a young man myself. Be like, no, remember to like actually, take your spiritual life seriously. No, I want to do this, I want to do... No, that's not going to get you what you want. It might for some time, but then eventually you'll be like the guy who won the lottery and blew all his money and then he's broke again. So don't be like that. Anyway, Prabhupada says the unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen after very little progress, and one is fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, he is sent back again to this planet to take birth in the family of a righteous Brahmin, Vaishnav, or of aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection, which ultimately is Krishna consciousness, highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and fail due to the material allurements are allowed, by the grace of the Lord, to make full utilization of their material propensities. And after that, they are given opportunities to live prosperous lives in righteous or aristocratic families. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness. So this is the highest perfection, actually, that every living entity has. You all have what's called sambandha jnana. There's knowledge there of your sambandha. What's a sambandha? Yes, a relationship with who? Yes, with Krishna, with the Supreme. But our consciousness is mostly not on Krishna. The consciousness is mostly in relationship to things with that are temporary. Well, what's the problem with having a relationship with things that are temporary? Yes, they're temporary, therefore it means what? Yeah, you can't keep it. It's lost. Who here? No, none of you are married. Maybe right now. Will anyone have a girlfriend right now? Parth, you have a girlfriend. You like your girlfriend? Yes. You plan on marrying your girlfriend? Yes, this is very good. Not everyone likes their girlfriends and boyfriends. So anyhow, so he plans on marrying her. Now what if she called you tomorrow and said, Parth, I don't want to do this anymore. You'd be very upset. Yes. My wife did that to me. I would cry. I would be crying for days. Why? Well, are you sure we can't work this out? Something like this. But we put all our stock in these temporary relationships. I'll be a fool if I think that, yes, I'll keep my wife forever. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. My wife. I'd be a fool. Who remembers their wife from their past lifetime? My friend, what is your name? Yes. Johnny. I remember you. It's like the most Western sounding Indian name I've heard yet. So, yes. So do you remember your wife in your past life? Do you remember if you were even a wife? You could have been the wife in the past life. Yes, we don't know. But yet we put so much time and energy and emphasis into these temporary relationships. Not saying don't get married, no, you can do all of these things, but do so in the scope of yoga. Arjuna was married, he had multiple wives. But he was taught how to be a yogi. So you too, no matter what you have, wife, your parents, you guys are a little fortunate that, the whole arrangement, I don't know if everyone does it, but, your parents do the duty of arranging the whole thing for you guys. It was a battlefield for me to try and find a wife in the West. The dating scene is very difficult. It's oh my gosh. But you know what? Somehow or other, by Krishna's mercy and only Krishna's mercy, it worked out. But if I think this is the source of happiness, is just my wife. Any married person will tell you after some time that is definitely not the source of happiness. Source of all kinds of combat, you know. That's always going to be there. And it's not just me speaking like that. Brahma also says he cannot figure out. He created women, and in this world at least, and he could also not figure out how to do the whole arrangement. So anyhow, you can look up that reference for yourself. But this is ultimately what we focus on. But if we take to yoga, even if we're not successful, we're guaranteed a better situation. And yes, maybe we'll get the material thing we got really attracted to. But eventually that will run out. You only have so much money in your lottery account to enjoy these things. And then eventually it runs out. You know, like just like a kid at a candy store. He only has so much money, the little kid, but he says, oh, I want this, I want that, and I want this. And then eventually the shopkeeper says, my son, you have no more money, go get more money. And he's got to go run and beg and get more money again. That'll be like us. You only have so much pious karma. And you can only get so many situations. But why fight and work so hard? Become a yogi. This is what Krishna recommends. Don't become a great karmi. You know, I'll get this activity. Become a yogi. And do all your duties anyway. Arjuna ruled the earth. You could potentially rule the earth. I'm not saying you will rule the earth. Actually, there's a better chance you won't rule the earth than you do rule the earth. But who knows? It's all possible. But be a yogi. He says the other option, Krishna says, is, or he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. And Prabhupada says, birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because the child born in such a family receives spiritual impetus from the very beginning of his life. Many of you actually are like this. Your parents have given you spiritual wisdom. True or false? Yes. Maybe, I don't know how it is, but maybe your parents wished you were a little bit more spiritual, you took it more seriously, and you're like, nah, Mom, I'll do this. Is that true at all for anyone in the room? Probably just ton of mine. I'm just kidding, no. It was true for me too. My dad wanted me to be spiritual my whole life. And then I actually went the exact opposite way and became an atheist. And now, the way karma works itself out, now I'm like leading like a church of sorts. I don't know how that happened. But this is such a rare birth. But you all actually have taken this rare birth, actually. Most of you have taken. Anyone here, your parents, even my parents have given me some spiritual realization. But is this true of all of your situations? Most of you, your parents have encouraged you spiritually? Yes. You actually have a very rare birth, a very rare opportunity, which is coming from that you've made advancement in the past. This isn't coming from nowhere. You've made advancement in the past. So keep making advancement. Take it to the next level. Krishna says it's constant practice and detachment from this world. This is how you'll achieve success in yoga. But that means doing something. It's work. It's activities, it's work. And it might be the work of not getting tempted to go do this, that, and the other thing that most of your peers are probably doing. Whether it's cigarettes or alcohol or, I don't know what you kids are doing. I was going to make a joke that's probably inappropriate. But anyhow, all these things. Who knows what the college kids are doing? And these frat houses are crazy, what goes on there. But yes, be a yogi. Don't be one of these foolish people. You guys have something so much better waiting for you. Krishna says, on taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life. Oh, this was the verse I was looking for. He again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. So back to Holly, who we lost this week, who we're missing. She made a ton of advancement. We watched it. We were so happy witnessing. Especially, when we see Western people, how much advanced, because we're coming from you could say, a less fortunate, at least spiritually, situation in most cases. You know, there are some very spiritual Western people all across the world, but the society and the paradigm as a whole is not so spiritual. Like you go to India, the thing that people will do, you know, ooh, let's go to this temple. All right, let's go to this temple. Let's go to this temple. In the West, the thing to do is not to go to temples or churches. That's for sure. That's not like what the social paradigm is. So, you know, but we watched Holly, who was born and definitely came up in a Western way. But we watched her make so much spiritual advancement, especially she hit those a few multipliers, like the Kartik month. We watched her really make significant progress during the Kartik month. We watched how Krishna arranged it, that when she fell and had her accident, that it was on a Mokshada Ekadashi, and she actually did a whole fast for the whole Mokshada Ekadashi, which is very rare. Most of us have never done such a thing. But somehow, because of her advancement, Krishna had arranged such a thing, that when she was going to fall and have her accident, to send her to the hospital, that she was going to be by herself on Mokshada Ekadashi and be fasting, and who knows what was going on between her and Krishna during that time. But anyway, we lost her on Friday. We didn't intend that we would go and visit and it would be the last time we see her. We thought maybe she would stay alive for some more time. But actually they agreed that night, her family and the doctors agreed that they would take her off of the support and that they would let her go peacefully. And but while we were there, we got to bring so many sacred articles, the water of the Yamuna, which is the place where Krishna performed many of his pastimes, the dust of Vrindavan and Govardhan, which also Krishna performed many of his pastimes, Nrsimha oil that's offered to the deity of the main Nrsimha deity in the Mayapur temple, one of, you could say, Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON headquarters. A picture of Radha and Krishna that she had for a week from the last time we visited her, staring at her. Someone taped up, one of the nurses taped up right across from her bed. And yeah, Krishna, and then we got to do kirtan for her, for almost a half an hour of doing kirtan. So there's no doubt in my at all for me, that Holly is definitely going to a place where she'll continue her, that divine consciousness will be revived of her previous life, the work she did in this life, and the work that we got to do along with her. And she'll keep going. Maybe she'll still be in the material world. Maybe she'll go to the heavenly planets and enjoy there for some time before having to go and make more advancement. And it doesn't matter. She's going to continue for where she left off, and so will you. Even when you leave here today, you'll continue with whatever spiritual impetus you have. Maybe this is an interesting subject matter for most of you. Maybe it's not. No problem. This is everybody's destiny. You either get it now, or you take it now, or you'll have to keep getting churned through samsara lifetime after lifetime, and you'll have to learn why this is the best science for the material living entities here. But most people, there's 3 ways to learn mentioned in the Bhagavatam. What's the best way? Does anyone know?
Learning from other people's wisdom.
That's the second best way. The best way is Shravan. You're here, you hear you hear about the pitfalls and the mistakes of others. You could, kind of what you said, and you decide, no, I'm going to hear from the sages, I'm going to hear from the conclusions of God, I'm going to hear from the wise people, and I'm going to follow. That's the best way. But most people don't learn that way. That's the easiest way, the most efficient and effective way. The second best way is kind of what Rishi said, is you actually see something happen to someone else. Oh, my friend became an alcoholic and then this bad thing happened to him, and oh my God, I don't want to see like that, so let me not go like that. You see it firsthand. Okay, good. And do you know what the best way to learn? And it's the least pleasurable? And we all learn this way, so viscerally. What's that, Johnny?
Habits rules.
Yes, pratyaksha, directly experiencing it yourself. This way, everybody, this is how everybody learns the best. If you don't learn the other ways, this way will surely teach you. So I'm here presenting something for you to shravan here. No problem. Listen, don't listen, do, don't do. But you'll eventually learn what I'm saying anyway. Whether you learn it now or 20 years down the road or 50 years down the road or at death. You'll maybe recognize these things. The best thing is to start now. Take to the practice now. Become a yogi. Don't wait till your next life. Don't wait till you're old and your body is not so useful. Wait right now. Or not wait. Don't wait. Start right now. You all have the facility. Anyway, I'll end here. Thank you guys for joining. Are we ready in there, Parth?
Yeah.
Do you guys think, we don't have time for another full kirtan, but do you guys think that we could maybe say a few more chants for Hali's sake? And to offer our love for her soul who's going through the process. I don't know what it's like. I don't have a memory of when my soul last passed. I don't know how long it takes, for her to get the next destination. I don't know. But I know that at this, death is such an important part of the life because it dictates, as Krishna was saying, where you go next. So just to send her our intentions of hoping it's closer to Krishna. It surely is. He guarantees it. We just read the section of Bhagavad Gita where he's guaranteeing that she's going to keep going and keep making advancement, as are all of us. So can we maybe chant that she so that she continues on this way? So let's maybe 3 times or so. Hey, Parth, I'm gonna play that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone louder. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Last time all together. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Nagoti Vashvini Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanande. So thank you all for joining. I'm very grateful. Mukunda, thank you for coming. I know it wasn't easy to get here today. Thank you for coming. And yeah, please think fondly of Holly, and also let some gravity into your life. You're all called to be yogis, so please do it. It's for your benefit, and it'll be ultimately the most rewarding to you if you take it. So now we have part of the yogi practice is we offer all of our food. I don't know if you saw, I was ringing bells and throwing water here and there. I was doing something called the Archana process, and we offer all of our food in Archana so that the Supreme Lord blesses it, and then when we eat this food, it's said that the Lord is giving us His mercy, and we will be able to have a more divine consciousness, which is necessary to practice yoga. So take the divine consciousness we're offering via this delicious food stuff, and yeah, eat up to your necks. Thank you guys so much for coming. We will not be here this Wednesday. It's Christmas time, so we have relative duties to do. So yes, we will do our duty there. But we'll be back again next Sunday. We'd love to have you guys again. Enjoy your holiday. And Sohan, nice to see you. Sorry you missed the dancing. I'm most happy to see you in dancing. But yeah, enjoy, guys. Thank you guys so much. Hare Krishna. And please think fondly of Holly. If you remember her at all, that'd be wonderful. Hare Krishna. Thank you who joined online. And yeah, until next time. Haribol. Tim, are you inspired to be a yogi? Yes?
I'm always inspired when Maya pulls me.
What?
I'm always inspired, but
Yes.
mind and Maya pulls me. But one thing is, Krishna also